We asked her for medical aid. They sent cures, comfort, and a battleship. Beginning. The stars looked dimmer from the infirmary windows of the orbital station Marrow's Hope. To Dr. Aylin Varick, they no longer shimmered with mystery, only with quiet cruelty. For 3 standard years, the Neruli Commonwealth had been dying. The sarin plague, a mutating pathogen of crystalline spores, had slipped past sterilization fields and found its way into lungs, bloodstreams, even bone marrow. It had no cure. Aylin leaned against the wall of the quarantine chamber, watching another patient's breathing slow into silence. The monitor's flatline hum was steady, familiar. She closed her eyes. Another one, she whispered. The Neruli Council had exhausted every option. Neighboring systems refused aid, fearing contamination. Even allies had turned their backs. Pride had kept the Commonwealth from contacting Earth, that backwater cradle of humanity they had once mocked for technological backwardness. But pride cracked when the plague consumed one colony after another. A message had been sent across the dark. Request medical aid. Priority critical. Aylin hadn't expected an answer. Yet 2 months later, a transmission had come. The humans had received the call. They were sending assistance. The docking bay of Marrow's Hope thrummed with anticipation. Hundreds of Neruli gathered, their translucent skin dulled by sickness, eyes hollow with hunger for hope. A signal chimed across the comms. Earth vessel approaching. Identify as EHA Solace. Requesting docking clearance. The crowd erupted in murmurs. Solace. Even the name carried a bomb. When the airlock cycled open, a team of humans emerged. Their leader, a tall woman with copper hair and a voice like tempered steel, introduced herself. Commander Elaine Tarrant, Earth Humanitarian Service. We brought medical specialist supplies and cultural liaisons. Carts of sealed containers followed. Crates labeled with human symbols. Red crosses, hazard triangles, bioseals. The Neruli pressed closer, their eyes shimmering with desperate gratitude. Among the humans was a young medic named Jonah Keats. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his satchel, but his eyes, earnest and unflinching, met Aylin's across the bay. In that moment, something inside her chest loosened for the first time in years. Middle, Earth's aid was unexpected. They didn't just deliver medicine. They brought comfort. The Neruli had prepared for sterile shipments of antivirals, nanite filters, or harsh regimens of chemical treatments. Instead, the humans distributed not only engineered serums, but blankets woven with heat-trapping fibers, portable shelters with soothing light, and nutrient rations flavored with herbs to ease nausea. We treat more than the body, Jonah explained to Aylin as they worked side by side. Illness wears the spirit down too. You heal both, or neither heals. At first, Aylin resisted. Neruli medicine was clinical, efficient, devoid of sentiment. Yet as she watched families smile through fevers while sipping broth spiced with something called ginger, she began to understand. The humans weren't just curing. They were comforting. The serum Earth had developed was remarkable. It didn't annihilate the spores directly. That had failed countless times before. Instead, it strengthened the host's immune system, coaxing cells to resist the crystalline bloom. Patients who had days left to live began sitting up, asking for food. Aylin felt herself daring to hope. But there was something else. Something they hadn't asked for. It arrived in silence. A shadow eclipsed the stars as a second Earth vessel slipped from faster than light. But the ship dwarfed Solace. Its hull was plated in black composite, bristling with weapon arrays. Letters gleamed along its side. Yenus Aegis, a battleship. The council convened in alarm. We requested medicine, not warships. Counselor Dresk hissed. Do the humans intend to occupy us under guise of aid? Commander Tarrant stood before them, unflinching. The Aegis is here for defense. Our scans show the sarin plague is not natural. Its genetic coding bears engineered markers. A stunned silence. Engineered? Deliberate? Tarrant's gaze was sharp. Someone designed this. Someone released it. And someone intends to finish what they started. We will not leave you undefended. The council whispered in disbelief. But Aylin, recalling the way the spores adapted unnaturally fast, felt a cold certainty settle in her bones. The humans were right. The truth came swiftly. Drones intercepted near the outer colonies carried insignia from the Creole Dominion, a ruthless expansionist power that had long eyed the Neruli border systems. Biological warfare had been their opening gambit. The humans revealed they had anticipated this. Earth intelligence networks had already traced Dominion involvement. The Aegis had come prepared, not only with weapons but with data, countermeasures, and tactical strategies. The Neruli were outraged. You knew we were attacked and said nothing? Commander Tarrant's reply was quiet but steady. We acted the moment you asked for help. Had you reached out sooner, we would have come sooner. For the first time, the proud Neruli realized what Earth had become in the centuries since their last contact. Not a backwater, but a civilization hardened by wars of survival, tempered by empathy and unafraid to wield both. Jonah worked beside Aelin in the infirmary, where recovering patients now whispered prayers of thanks to the humans. One evening, as they watched a child laugh for the first time since her diagnosis, Jonah said softly, "You know, back on Earth we have a saying, comfort is half the cure." Aelin tilted her head. "And the other half?" "Strength. Sometimes strength comes from medicine. Sometimes from standing together when danger comes knocking." She studied him. "You humans, always mixing softness and steel." He smiled. "That's how we survived." Climax. The Creel fleet came without warning. 30 warships, bristling with plasma batteries, dropped out of warp at the edge of the Neruli system. Their message was clear. Surrender. Your plague-weakened species is finished. But the Creel had not expected Earth's battleship. The Aegis surged forward, its hull aglow with defensive barriers. From its launch bays streaked wings of human starfighters, compact and viciously fast. The Neruli watched in awe as the humans fought, not just for themselves, but for a people they barely knew. Plasma bolts flared, shields shimmered, explosions carved brilliance against the void. And then the Dominion unleashed a new horror. Warheads filled with concentrated spore clouds hurtled toward Marrow's Hope. If they struck, the plague would saturate the station beyond saving. Alarms wailed. Panic rippled through the station. Aelin and Jonah sprinted to the quarantine labs. The humans had brought portable sterilization arrays, devices meant to cleanse infected chambers. With modifications, they could neutralize the spore warheads before detonation, but deploying them required manual calibration outside the station's hull. "I'll do it," Jonah said without hesitation. "No," Aelin snapped. "You're not immune to the spores." "Neither are you." Their eyes locked. The silence carried more than words. Finally, Aelin grabbed the sterilizer and sealed her suit. "Then we'll go together." The void was endless around them, lit by firestorms of battle. Aelin's breath rasped inside her helmet as she and Jonah maneuvered along the hull, magnetic boots clanging. The warhead cluster spun closer, its spore payload already leaking a faint crystalline mist. "Calibration set," Jonah said, fingers flying over the device. Powering up, a Creel fighter banked toward them, cannons blazing. The impact would tear them apart. But before the shot landed, a human starfighter streaked across their view, intercepting with a blaze of counterfire. Over comms, a pilot's voice rang. "Finish the job, medics. We got you covered." The sterilizer thrummed, releasing a pulse of searing energy. The warheads erupted, not into spore clouds, but into harmless ash drifting like glitter across the stars. Cheers thundered through comms. The tide of battle turned. The Creel, stunned by their failed weapon and the ferocity of human resistance, broke formation and retreated into warp, ending. The war was not over, but the first battle was won. More importantly, the Neruli no longer stood alone. In the aftermath, the Aegis remained in orbit, a sentinel against further incursions. Solace continued distributing medicine, training Neruli healers in Earth's methods of care, methods that blended science with compassion. In the infirmary, Aelin stood watching as patients rose from beds, their crystalline lesions fading day by day. For the first time in years, her heart felt light. Jonah approached, holding a tray of nutrient rations. He grinned. "Brought you some soup, Earth recipe, comfort food." She arched a brow. "Do all cures of yours involve strange flavors?" "Only the best ones," he said. She laughed, a sound she had almost forgotten how to make. Later, before the council, Commander Terran addressed both species. "You asked us for aid. We gave you medicine. But medicine alone cannot guard against those who would destroy you. So we gave you more, comfort because despair is as deadly as disease. And a battleship, because sometimes healing requires defending. Earth does not abandon those who call for help." The council bowed their heads. For the first time in history, the Neruli pledged alliance with Earth, not as patrons or protectors, but as equals. Aelin looked out the viewport at the great human warship silhouetted against the stars. Once, she had thought Earth a relic of the past, too fragile, too sentimental. Now she knew better. When the message had been sent, they had expected perhaps a trickle of medicine, perhaps silence. Instead, Earth had answered with more than they dared imagine. Cures, comfort, and a battleship. And with that, hope returned to the stars.